Good evening.
Evening.
I'm going to call this September 9th Commission meeting to order. And at the present time, I would like to thank all of you for taking the time to come out to the commission meeting. And we'll ask Commissioner Jakes if he would lead us in invocation and the pledge of allegiance to the flag. Let us have it.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord God, we just thank you for this day. Thank you for the many blessings of life. Father, again, we come to you and we thank you for the freedom, God, that you've given us here in this country and in this state, in this county, God, to assemble on behalf of the citizens of Franklin County. God, I pray that you just give us godly wisdom and discernment for every decision that's been made here tonight. Father, we look to you to meet the needs of this county. God, our families, our churches, our businesses, and our schools. God, we thank you and praise you for everything that you have done and everything you're going to do. In the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. First thing on the agenda is to listen to public comments. At this time, we welcome anybody from the public to make some comments to the commission. Hearing none, we'll move on to the second item on our agenda. The second item is Kimberly Height conditional use permit that we had today in the public hearing from 5:30 to 6. Do I have a motion that we accept that permit?
I make a motion to accept that permit, sir.
Commissioner Strickland makes a motion that we accept that permit. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
We have a second from Commissioner Jakes. Any discussion? If none, all raise your right hand if you're for that. Passed 5-0. Permit is approved. The next item on the agenda is the coroner request for a cooler. And we have a coroner with us tonight. We did not get this item during our work session. So we will request that our coroner maybe present to us some information about the coroner's request for a cooler. David, come forward, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, appreciate giving the opportunity. What we're looking at, and I'm going to make a brief introduction, and I'm going to turn this over to Kenny Smith. Kenny is my chief deputy coroner. He's been with me for 20 years, and he's been doing the research on this, so I will turn it over to him shortly. Again, I know this is not an item that we had in the budget, so we know that going in. But in my 28 years being associated with the coroner's office and the last 20 of them being the coroner, I don't think we've ever came and asked anything. So, you know, you could pretty much be assured that any request we make is something that we need. And the reason for the request for the cooler is that at the present time, we have to rely on other sources for storage of bodies, and sometimes it gets to be a problem if they're full. I think Kenny had a case, as a matter of fact, last week that the crime lab was full. He had one that really needed to be somewhere, and they couldn't handle it. So that's going to be our request. Kenny's got the numbers. He's going to make the presentation, and we'll be around for any questions.
Thank you. Kenny?
we've been together a long time, David and I. Forgive me if I'm a little bit short-winded, sound a little funny. I've got that great end of summer sinus infection and bronchitis, so bear with me and I'll get through it. What you're looking at in your folder there is, the top page is the quote from Dade Engineering down in Miami. Now, I did a lot of research and I looked at a lot of different coolers, and that for the money is the best deal that I can find. That, if you'll notice on there's a price for the cooler, and then there's a price for shipping. And the fact that we can back right up to the docks there at Ty Cobb Regional and unload it ourselves saved us $150. You know, I don't know why, but it sounds good to me. You know, getting to the necessity of the cooler. This is not a luxury item that we're asking for. This is an absolute necessity. We've got numerous occasions, and I said this about 6 months ago. In my 20 years, it had never happened to me that we had every single option in place that we had access to filled. The crime lab was absolutely full, and I know this sounds terrible. I won't be detailed about it, but they had bodies on every table, stacked on the floor. They just had no room for not a single one. And the only other access we have to a cooler is Mr. Arnold Strickland over in Harville. And he has been so good to us. I mean, he has really helped us out a lot when we were in jam. But that comes at a price as well. And to be quite honest with you, over the last 20 years, we've called a lot of favors in. And you know, after a while, those favors kind of get worn down. And we're in a situation now where his business is picking up. So the frequency of us being able to use his cooler, and he's only got a 2-body cooler, is getting less and less. In the last 6 months, it's probably happened, I know of 5 times. Now, there may be more with one of the other deputies that I haven't heard of, but I know of at least 5 times that it's happened that we had nowhere to put them. And unfortunately, it's one of those things that you can't postpone. You know, you can't just push it off to the side and say, well, we'll get to it in a day or two. You kind of got to do something with it right then. And this will solve our problem. This will absolutely solve our problem. This is a 3-body cooler for the price of what Arnold said he paid for a 2-body cooler. Now, at Ty Cobb Regional, they've got a holding room that, excuse me, that the funeral homes and the coroner's offices and you know, such use, where they'll place a body until they have time to come, the funeral home has time to come pick it up. Well, it's not a refrigerated room. It's just a single air, or a room that's got a single air unit dedicated to that one room. So it doesn't get cool enough to be able to control the decomp. And, but Mr. Greg Hearn, I'm sure you're all familiar with Greg. Greg has graciously offered to allow us to put the cooler in that holding room, and Ty Cobb will pay the power bill on it and do the maintenance on it after the 2-year warranty runs out. Now, to me, you can't get a better deal than free, you know, so I thank him for that, and he was going to try to be here with us tonight, but he wasn't able to make it. But I think it's a great deal. I think, you know, again, the cost of actually running the unit is about the cost of running a refrigerator, is what the tech guys down at Dayco were telling me. And but if you know, if the Ty Cobb system is going to allow us to use that room and put the cooler in there and keep it in a controlled environment, you know, that's a great deal for us and a great deal for the county. You know, we've got to, now a lot of times when there's a what we call a litigated case, where there's gonna be charges pending, it's a homicide or whatever, you know. There's a chain of custody and a security issue. Well, we've got that worked out as well, because right now, the only person that has access to that room is the nursing supervisor themselves. Now, there is one thing that we're gonna have to change. There's a call log in there, or a sign-in log, where you basically sign the body in, and then whoever picks it up signs it out. We're gonna have to change that log just a little bit to cover our chain of custody issues, but it's not gonna be a big deal. It'll be about sitting down at the computer for about 15 minutes, and we'll fix that problem. Again, this is, you know, like David said, we don't, I hope you keep in mind that even with all the money constraints and the budget issues and all that, we don't come and ask for stupid stuff that we don't need. We just don't do that. So I hope you keep that in mind when you're considering these figures. I know it's a lot of money. I mean, I know it is. But again, it's not a luxury item. It's an absolute necessity. We've got one, David is saying, I had one last week that had been down for several days in a house with no power, no air conditioning. So you can imagine what that was like. Quite frankly, I had to sit on that body for 6 hours until I could get a hold of Arnold, because he was out doing a funeral service, and nobody else has access to his coolers over there. So it was quite a problem, to be quite honest with you. And this will solve our problem. I mean, this will take care of it, and it should handle it for years to come. You know, it shouldn't be something that should ever be replaced, or quite frankly, in my lifetime, I don't see a need, and I don't foresee a need in, you know, doubling the size or buying a new one or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So again, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to go over them with you. The last sheet in your packet that you see are the vendors and the cooler contract, the manufacturers that I've actually talked to. Some of them I got quotes from, some of them I just talked to them over the phone and got them to give me a phone quote. But you've got or pictures of 3 of the coolers that we looked at, or 4 of the coolers that we looked at. A couple of them are just absolutely outrageous. You know, I mean, just the numbers were phenomenal. The cooler, and I don't quite understand how this happened, but the cooler price started out at about $8,000. But by the time it was all said and done and delivered, it came up to I think one was close to 18, 17, 999 or something, and the other one was almost 22,000. Now, how that happens in the shipping world, that's beyond me. I don't know. Not when the cooler was $8,000. But the quote and the picture that's stapled together tells you all about the techniques of the cooler. Now, you've got a picture of a 2-drawer, but that quote is for a 3-body cooler, not a 2-body. And quite frankly, I think it's a good deal. I think it's about a good deal as we can shop around and get. I tried to look for a manufacturer that was closest to us to save on the shipping cost. And this is the best deal I can come up with after several months of doing research on it. Now, I don't have the actual numbers on this. Lisa Lane might can help me with this later. And I apologize, I should have got with you sooner. It was kind of a last minute get on the agenda kind of thing. But I do know that I talked to Rhonda before Rhonda left, and Rhonda was giving me the numbers that she gave me were doubled from the previous year. And that number was if I'm going by memory now, but that number was somewhere in the range of $1,700. Because we have to pay to transport the body to Arnold's. he charges $75 a day for us to store a body over there. And then, of course, we have to pay to get the body transferred from the funeral home out to Atlanta for the autopsy out to Decatur. Now, we've had to wait. Mondays are particularly bad, and in my case was the past Monday, and it was holiday weekend as well. But if the numbers had doubled from the previous year, and I know that this year they've had to go up drastically as well because we've been a lot busier, you know, and unfortunately by busier, I mean we've had more death investigations than what we typically do. Can't explain that, don't know why that is, just one of those things, I guess. But personally, I think, based on the numbers that I heard before, it shouldn't take but a couple of years, and this cooler is gonna pay for itself. You know, and especially with us not having to pay the power bill. Even if it is the cost to run the refrigerator unit, we're not having to pay the power bill on it. So I think it's a win-win for all of us. There's another issue with the transportation that I won't take up too much more of your time, but getting in a situation where I'm out of the death scene somewhere, and I gotta get the body transported from there to the cooler in Hartwell, that's a major problem for us. I mean, a major problem. But Terry Harris, the director of EMS, has graciously, and I mean, really went out of his way to help us out with that. In fact, Monday, you know, they took a med unit out of service and transported that body to Hartwell for me. But we didn't have any other option. There was no other choice, you know. With a body in that condition, it's just not something you want sitting around in your living room, you know? You gotta do something with it. Now, it's not Terry and them's job to do that. It's not, you know, and you know, quite frankly, without them, I don't know what we'd do. But this will solve that problem as well. Now all we're talking about is going to the hospital in Livonia, which is what they frequently do anyway. So it kind of solves that transportation problem of getting that body to a cooler, to a 38-degree cooler. So, you know, again, I think it's a win-win for everybody, for all of us, especially if we're sitting out there on a death scene somewhere and nowhere to go, you know. And it used to, like I said, it was unheard of. You know, a year ago it was unheard of. You know, but in the last 6 months it's happened numerous times, and it's going to get much worse because I can't speak for the GBI, but it's pretty well known. And it's pretty well being talked about that they're closing the Augusta lab. Now, there's 10 counties that use the Augusta lab. When they close that lab down, those 10 counties are going to Atlanta, which is going to make my problem and our problem even bigger. I mean, you know, instead of waiting a day, you know, we may wait 4 days. So I think we've gotten by as long as we can possibly get by without one. But I think it's to the point, in fact, I know it's to the point now to where we've just got to do this, you know, and I don't know anything about David's budget. Me and David don't discuss the budget. That's not my business. That's not my place. That's his job. I just do what he tells me to do. But I know it's a big ticket item, and I know it's a lot of money, but I really believe that it's going to benefit and it's gonna pay for itself in a very short time. You know, I don't wanna get caught. I don't wanna get caught with the liability, and not necessarily the liability part of it, but the dignity part of it, you know? Of having some family member, you know, that's stuck in the back of somebody's van or somebody's truck for hours waiting on a place to get them to a cooler. You know, and anybody that's ever worked with me over the last 20 years, you know, hopefully, you know, they'll tell you that my biggest concern is that family and that body. That's my job. That's just what I'm supposed to do. And there should be some dignity in that. You know, it's not, I can't bring that body back, but I can talk to that family. You know, and if there's one thing, just one small thing, like calling the funeral home for them, that takes one less thing off of them that they have to deal with. Monday put me in a very, very bad position in that I had family members outside the house wanting to know what was taking so long. You know, why were we there so long? And the simple truth was because we had nowhere to go. You know, and that's just not good. It doesn't look good on me. It doesn't look good on the coroner's office. And I don't, quite frankly, I don't want to be in that position ever again. You know, that's just not, that's not dignified, you know? And I don't know any other way to explain that. So, thank you for your time and thank you for hearing me out, you know, and as I said, if you have any questions about it, please ask me and I'll do my best to answer them for you.
Understand that we do not have a single cooler in our possession. We rely on Hart County.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. And that is in a funeral home, that Strickland's funeral home.
Right.
So if he's got two bodies in the pool, for cremation, because he's also dealing with crematory, you know, that's close by. But yes, sir, you're correct. We don't have a single cooler. We have no place or no way that we can get a body tipped out with 30 degrees.
Now, you indicated it'd be placed at Ty Cobb Hospital. Therefore, I'm assuming that what you're telling us, that Greg Hearns has basically approved it being placed there.
Yes, sir, that is correct. In fact, he's asked us several times, what's the status on the cooler? You know, what's the status on the cooler? Greg's not your typical manager. Greg is out and about everywhere. He's all over the hospital. He's down in the ER as much as he is anywhere else, probably in his office. So he kind of sees, you know, what happens and how things work. You know, not to mention the fact that he's a fireman, a first responder, and an EMT and all that stuff. But he understands our issue. He understands our problem, which is why I think he made the offer to allow us to store it there, to put the cooler in that negative air environment room. You know, and not that it's a biohazard issue, but it's a room that they built specifically for holding the bodies until the funeral home could get there.
Now, will the cooler be used by the coroner's office only, or will it be used by the hospital and the coroner's office, or?
Well, here's a good thing about that. I think it's a good thing. Here's the thing about that. Of course, I think it's only right that the hospital would have access to it. You know, if they're willing to allow us to put it there and pay the power bill, and they need to use it for a day, then by all means, I say let them use it. You know, but the possibility is there that since we've been charged $75 a day for all these years, you know, there is a possibility that we could charge for storage as well. You know, let's say you got, I don't know, let's say, just as an example, you got somebody that's waiting to go out of state, you know, they gotta have somewhere to put them for those couple of days to get them embalmed and to get them out of state, because legally they have to be embalmed before they can leave the state of Georgia. So I guess the roundabout way to answer your question is yes, there is a possibility for us to be able to charge for that storage, and yes, they would have access to it. But of course, we're gonna come first. You know, we can't outstretch ourselves. It wouldn't do us any good if we fill our 3-body cooler up with somebody else's bodies and then we find where to put one. So, you know, of course, one or two would be reserved for us at all times. At least that's how I see it, you know. And of course, David being the boss would make the decision on that.
I'm personally ready to move forward with this. Let me see if we got any other questions from the commission.
I'm ready to move forward. I have no problem. The only thing I would ask is, as tight as our budget is, that we be given at least till the work session next month, unless it's just an absolute immediate need. Is there, would 30 days till our next formal meeting impact you?
I personally don't think so, but.
Well, I mean, we need to look at the budget, and that would take an amendment of the budget.
Yes, sir.
I mean, what I want to do, I have no problem, I'm in favor of it, I just want us, when we amend our budget, we know where the money's coming from, exactly how much,
Right.
but have no problem. You've done an excellent job with, you know, informing us regarding this
That would make
issue.
sense, yeah, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but we've been waiting a long time and doing what we, you know, just getting by the best we could, so I don't think 30 days is gonna make that much difference to us, you know?
Well, I think you made your case. I think Commissioner seems to be ready to move forward. 30 days doesn't affect you guys that much. We can look into the budget and see how we're going to do this.
I think we can certainly live with that, and I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate your cooperation and your understanding.
I don't have a problem with it, I don't think, but I would like to have a sticker on there somewhere, property of Franklin County. Because once this board, you know, whatever happens to this board, the next board, or next,
Oh, absolutely.
takes these guys' place, we don't know who that thing belongs to.
Absolutely.
I mean, it ain't gotta be,
totally agree with that.
you know, huge, but a sticker, property of Franklin County.
And that's pretty much the standard now anyway, right? I mean, you guys pretty much, you know, put stickers on your stuff anyway.
Inventory.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them on the structures and things like that around the ambulance service. So yeah, that wouldn't be a problem at all. In fact, I think it would be wise.
We had to do that as part of GASB 34, as part of our capital inventory.
I'm going to ask Mr. Morris to make sure that we got that on our work session, so we can deal with that, ready to move forward with it in our next session, and that give us opportunity to look at our budget and decide exactly how we're going to fund it. We appreciate it.
I apologize.
Thank you, David.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate your presentation.
So, no more questions? All right, well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. We'll backtrack just a little bit. Gentlemen, you've seen the minutes that we have for August. And we met 3 different times during the month of August, and we have minutes. If you don't have any objection, I would ask that we approve those or disapprove those in one vote. Do I have a motion that we approve the minutes for August?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Jakes makes the motion that we approve.
I second.
And we have Mr. Franklin, Commissioner Franklin, second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. So therefore, all the minutes have been approved that was conducted during the month of August. Now we'll move down to the Broad River Water Trail presentation. We have a young lady with us tonight from Broad River, and this is the presentation for us to listen to. We ordinarily do during a work session, but tell us.
Okay, well, thank you for taking the time, and I'll be brief. This is informational, and I believe you have a packet of information that was sent to you. I brought a PowerPoint that's queued up. If it's okay, I'll pull that up and talk from that. Is that all right? Our purpose here tonight, my name is Mary Freeman. I'm with the Broad River Watershed Association. Maybe this will be helpful. My purpose tonight is to talk about this project that we're involved in, the Broad River Water Trail, what it is, real importantly, why we're going after this thing, and a little bit about how we're doing it. To start off with who we are, the Broad River Watershed Association is an all-volunteer, 501c3 nonprofit group. We've been around since 1991. We're focused on the Broad River as a free-flowing river, and are interested in supporting the land uses that help us maintain water quality as well as our rural scenic character and wildlife habitat and sensitive historic and wildlife habitat. We own conservation easements on over 300 acres in the watershed. We conduct river cleanups twice a year. We're going to do one in October, and I'll bring that up again here in just a second. We sample, do water quality sampling in the watershed, checking the river for contamination. We've got volunteer groups that go out and sample the water. We do various kinds of public outreach and education. We've partnered with schools before. As I'll show you, we put up information kiosks on the river, stuff like that. And so we got involved in this project with the Georgia River Network, which is a statewide group that's focused on rivers, protecting rivers all over the state, and they work with little organizations like ours on establishing a water trail on the Broad River. And a water trail is just a section of river that's designated for use for recreational boating and canoeing and kayaking or little john boats and fishing, with public access points that are safe where you can get in, you can park your car, you can put in your boats, float down the river, have a nice day, and access is close enough together that it's reasonable to do that in one day. So it's a trail on the river. Georgia currently has 13 established trails, and I know that's hard to see, but I believe you can also see this in your packet. The green ones are established, and 8 trails under development, including the one on the Broad River. Why? We think this has a lot of benefits. Economic benefits, recreation benefits, certainly, conservation, we're a conservation group. This is why we're interested in it primarily, as well as education. And I'll just touch on those. Starting with the economic benefits, this is a way to increase tourism in our area. People come to float the river, they stop, they buy gas, they buy snacks, they may get off the river and go to a restaurant. If they're from out of town, they may stay in a local motel. Existing businesses see increased profits. There may be new businesses that develop to support these trails. Communities develop festivals or events focused on the trails. We've got one coming up here in October, I'll mention in just a second. The net is a benefit to both local community with higher quality of life, we think, and also improved tax base. We're working with the Georgia Department of Community Development, who is helping support and helping communities build these things. And the tourism folks gave us some data. These slides are from them. That this is a survey of, easier for you to see here, 6,500 folks that came to Georgia, visited Georgia for some reason. About 21% of those came for some sort of outdoor recreation. And they broke that down for us, and what that shows is that another about 20% of those folks doing outdoor activities come to do something on the water. They come fishing is a big one, boating, sailing, rafting are all big. And the money is huge. The overall economic impact of that is over $1 billion to Georgia. The potential is large. In 2010, the Georgia River Network sponsored Paddle Georgia. It's something they do every year. They pick a river, and they have, this thing sells out as soon as they open registration now. Within 24 hours it sells out. We have about 400 folks show up and spend a week paddling down the river. And in 2010, it was really fun. It was on the Broad and Savannah Rivers. Started, the first 2 nights, I think, were at Manual College. Folks camped out. They were out there camped out all around the ball fields and stuff. And they started up on the Middle Fork and floated 7 days down the Broad, down the Savannah to Augusta. Our organization raised $5,000 just from that event, having those folks out here that we've used to put up educational kiosks along the river to support our water quality program. So paddling is big. That's the point of that. And of course, it's all kind. The people that going down the river with 400 folks is not my cup of tea. Although I went on that one, it was a lot of fun. But recreation on the river is group activities, it's people getting out by themselves and fishing, it's families, it's varied, of course, and it's also economical. Access can be fairly minimal and inexpensive compared to, say, buying property and building recreational facilities. You don't have to buy as much land, there's not a lot of structure involved. Often you can utilize existing public land and facilities on rivers. So we see the net benefits of improving river access on the Broad as tourism and retail sales certainly increase value of properties along the river as the river becomes a more valued asset. And redistributing the traffic that's on the river now, which is really concentrated in Madison County along that Whitewater section, and a little bit starting up here, going down to that section, by providing public access at different points down along the river, you no longer will have to go to one of those outfitters, which is fine if that's what you want to do that, but you'll no longer have to go to the outfitter. If you have your own boat, you can go to public access, have a safe place. Leave your car, put in your boat, go down, take out, spread the traffic out. We think that'll be good for everyone. A real important aspect of this, too, is folks are paddling the river now. They're going to continue to paddle the river, even if we have to scramble down the bank at Atkinson Bridge and put in. People are going to get on the river. Having this as a designated water trail gives us the opportunity to really impress on folks that they have to respect private property rights. That you have a right to go down the river, but you don't have the right to get out and walk around on folks' land. And other aspects, like safety, things like that. Enhanced public awareness and support for conservation comes out of this. Again, that's one of the reasons we're really involved in this. And it generates volunteer interest in some of the things we do, like cleanups and water quality monitoring. Folks can't care if they don't know the river's there, if they don't feel some ownership in it, if it's not available to them to use. That's kind of the way I look at this. So we talk about these water trails as being a gateway to conservation. There are a number of programs. Rivers Alive is the one that sponsors the river cleanups every year, twice a year. Project WET is a program, it's a nationwide program. Georgia has a Project WET that takes teachers out and teaches them how to teach the kids about environmental stuff on the river. Georgia Adopt a Stream, involving folks in monitoring water quality and just noticing what's happening on their streams and rivers. These two little kids are in this PowerPoint presentation because one of them, and I don't know which one, won a science fair award for his project that he did on testing water quality, and he thought all that up after going on one of these paddle Georgia trips. I think it was on the Coosawhatee River, and when he came back the next year, he got involved in something he didn't even know about. So we think this is real. This speaks to the opportunity to educate river users, and that slide is showing an informational kiosk. I believe that one is on the Middle Fork, just right down here upstream from Highway 29. And these are big kiosks where we can put up maps of the river, but also information about how to be safe, but also river etiquette. And again, getting to that point of protecting people's property rights. Here's how you're expected to behave on the river, as well as information about plants and animals and unique features and maps. And we've made this, I think this is in your packet, and it's really tiny, you can't see a thing, but this is some of the information that we've been putting on kiosks. It's a map of the river. It shows points of where you can get in and out, and just general information. We're using this as public outreach, and we framed this one and brought it up for you all to keep. So that kind of information, we're already getting that up, and this will enable us to do more of that. River etiquette, again, are things like practice no trace travel, pick up your litter, encourage folks not to take glass or styrofoam down the river, don't disturb wildlife, and so on. Control your pets, respect private property rights, be courteous and polite, all that stuff. So, as I mentioned, there are already 13 established water trails in Georgia, 8 under development. A few examples, the Altamaha Trail is really long. It's over 135 miles long with places that you can stop and camp and put your boats in and out all the way from where, about Lumber City, where the Oconee and Oglala come together, all the way down to the tidal fresh water. So that's a really long one. The Toccoa River Canoe Trail, that must be in Gilmer County, I guess. It's short. It's about a 16-mile trail with, I think, 4 access points. Some of it uses Forest Service land, so it's the opposite end of that length. There's one established on the Etowah River. It's about 40 miles long. They have a number of put-ins and takeouts. And I'll mention here that just a sign of how up-and-coming this is, that Georgia Press just published a Etowah River User's Guide that was written by Joe Cook, who works on the Etowah and Coosa Rivers. Georgia River Network paid for the publishing. This thing is on waterproof paper. I haven't even got a copy yet. We have a copy, Victor's got it. You can take it on the river with you. It's got pictures and things to see on the river and places to go and restaurants, and there are things to do. They're going to do another one. The next one that's going to be done will be for the Chattahoochee River, of course. And the third one's going to be for the Broad River. So we, in 2 years, should have a published user's guide to the Broad River. One of the things that we send in your packet is draft governmental resolution support, and a number of communities around the county, around the state have passed resolutions of support. This is something we hope you'll consider, and we'd like to come back and talk to you about it at some future date. Again, I'm here today just to tell you about the water trail and what's going on with it. And you can learn more about our project, the Broad River Water Trail. We have a website, broadriverwatertrail.org. You go there. Our next steps is we're writing grants. We're seeking funding to obtain land, to acquire land for improved access points. October the 5th is a Saturday. We're having a water trail kickoff down at Camp Kiwanis. It's a beautiful facility down in Madison County. That morning we will have about a 5-mile float where we'll be picking up garbage. We'll do that in the morning, and then in the afternoon there's a festival mostly for children going on at Camp Kiwanis. Everybody's invited to come. We'll have folks out just answering questions and talking about the river and looking at bugs and things that we pick up out of the water and talking about monitoring. It'll be a fun day, but it's a good chance to learn more about it, and everybody's invited. And this developing partnerships with local governments. And that's one of the reasons I'm here. So this is an example of some of the counties that have passed resolutions of support. That's all I have. I'll be happy to answer questions now or later. Y'all know how to get in touch with us, I think.
Ms. Freeman, we certainly feel like you did an excellent job.
Good.
Bringing this to us.
Thank you.
I think it's something that the commission needs to take into consideration. We asked Mr. Morris to put it on a work session so we can consider this and talk more about becoming a partner with this endeavor. I appreciate you taking your time.
Well, I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
have one question for council about this, and do you have a copy of the resolution?
Yeah, I read it briefly right at the beginning of this meeting.
Okay. If you could please, if you could look at paragraph 4, and I quote, "Whereas the citizens of Franklin County have approved SPLOST funding and other county funding for recreational county facilities promoting parks and recreation, indicating their interest in and support of recreation, parks, and green space." Does this in any way open up a conduit for supposed SPLOST funding from Franklin County?
Well, no, not necessarily.
I want to have an understanding, because when I see funding in a resolution, I want to know and understand, is there a commitment? Does this open the conduit?
Sure. I mean, there are a couple of paragraphs in there that were a little, would need to be tweaked, in my opinion, but I understand that this was essentially taken from one that was passing Cherokee, I think.
I think so.
And I had no problem, I just want to understand.
And so the circumstances were probably somewhat different in Cherokee than in Franklin County, so it would need to be tailored to fit our situation.
That's exactly, yes, thank you, Commissioner, that's exactly why we want to delay this, look at our next work session, make sure that we're on solid ground.
Thank you, Mayor.
Please,
You did a good job.
shoot us an email or call us if we can answer any questions, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much. Now we move into the item of the City of Danielsville water tank request. They came to our work session, at our last work session. They requested that we, in other words, donate a water tower that's been set in out at Flying J Complex for quite some time. And we asked them if they would bear all the expense. So I'm gonna ask commissioners if we have a motion to move forward with this issue. And then we'll have a discussion. If we have a motion for it, and a second.
For the sake of discussion, I would make that motion.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Well, Mr. Harper making the motion, Mr. Commissioner James seconded that, and now let's have a discussion about that issue.
Yes, I had a call in concern of this, saying that we could get money for scrap. I encouraged the person that called me to check around. I haven't heard back. But I did do some exploring on the internet and other venues. I don't think that there's any possibility that we could get anything for scrap from this. Billy, haven't you checked with all the cities and
We did. We officially asked the cities if they had any need for these tanks, and none said they did.
Okay, and so on that basis, and then we're going to have to soon do some maintenance on those tanks, is that correct?
They are. They're gonna need some attention.
So we're,
in
what,
the
$30,000,
future.
$40,000?
Well, yes,
doing that?
that's right, yeah.
So I feel comfortable moving ahead with this.
Okay.
Yeah, the only two concerns I had were the fact that I did not want to allow an adjacent county to be able to surplus from our water tank inventory without at least making the offering to cities located within the county. And I also wanted to make sure that it's not something, if Danielsville could renovate the tank and have it functional and it be more cost effective, I wanted to make sure that it's not something that we in turn, as a component of our water system expansion, couldn't also do the same. And Billy, you pretty much, and John have assured me that neither one of those are feasible, none of the cities are interested, and it is not something that we could reuse as far as expansion of our water system.
It just
So
does-
my concerns have been addressed, and I'm ready to move forward at this time.
That's good, Commissioner. Any other questions, statements?
Mr. Chairman, just as a note, I think we had discussed at the work session that we understood that the effect of your motion to move forward today would be to
The intergovernmental agreement.
right, to create an intergovernmental agreement to be drafted by the city of
At their
Danielsville for
home.
presentation for
That's
further
correct.
consideration.
That's correct. We making that motion.
And in, one other thing, in that, whoever's gonna be doing this must be bonded and the appropriate,
The
liability.
county will be protected from any liability with
Okay.
regard to the tower.
Understand it's on great benefit the city of Danielsville for our school purpose down there, so it sounds like the tower can be used wisely. Are you ready to vote? All that?
And there's nothing that we can do to use that for anything,
That's
right?
correct. That's correct. All
And
in
is that
fa-
the one that's down there on 59?
Now, this is the one that's up by Petro,
Up
the
by
old Petro.
Any other statement?
All in favor, raise your right hand. Let it be showed that 5-0 vote to approve Danielsville request. And now we have the animal shelter funding. We had just come forth in our work session. We've been working very hard to make sure that we could come up with the funds, and thanks to different things that's taken place, we're able to save funds in certain places. So do I have a motion that we fully funded the animal shelter?
I make a motion.
Commissioner Strickland makes that motion. Do I have a second?
Second, and to be clear, it will be $14,080, and I would ask if Commissioner Strickland could amend his motion that the money be taken from the general fund and be allocated to the animal shelter line item. We're having to do a budget amendment.
Good deal. You
If that-
said that motion to
That's
stand
good.
that way,
Because we're using that money from the money that we saved.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
okay?
that's good.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Let it be showed, 5-0 vote in favor of going ahead and sending $14,080 to the animal shelter through our general account. Next item on the list is the River Bend Road resurfacing project. We had a group from River Bend Road to come before us and make a standing presentation about the resurfacing, and understand that we are in the process of resurfacing several roads, and there's a good possibility we could add the resurfacing to that package that we have our engineer to address. Is that right, Mr.
That is
Martin?
correct, you could do that.
All right, do I have a motion that we move forward with the River Bend added to our present package?
I make a motion that we add it to our present package.
Got a motion from Commissioner Strickland that we move forward with this resurfacing and adding it into our present package. Do I have a second? I'll second it if we can make it work, but, you know, Commissioner Franklin seconds that. I will now open it up for discussion. Any discussion?
The only concern that I have is that during the course of a public hearing, we established a priority list for all of the roads in the county. And the priority list was based on, you know, the amount of vehicles, number of residences, condition, whether the road already had a right-of-way and could accommodate resurfacing. I have no problem whatsoever with that proposal. I would just hate to move forward with any proposal of that type without sitting down and reviewing the whole priority list and going back over it. And if it is feasible to move that specific road up on the priority list, I'm 100% in favor of it. And I mean, I've reviewed it myself, and it does appear, based on the criteria that I've seen, that it could be moved up. I would just hate to move forward tonight, since the priority list was established during the course of a public hearing with the consensus of the board, without at least us sitting down and evaluating all of the roads that are currently on the list. Not opposed to the proposal. I just think that we'd be better served rather than just taking one road and shifting it up above all the other roads that were prioritized based on criteria, that we do due diligence and look at everything collectively.
Thank you, Mr. Yes. Any other discussion?
I was just gonna say that, with this right here, I know that, like I say, Billy and I have spoken, and with it being already resurfaced, if for some reason this road were to take a lot longer, it would cost the county more money down the road.
All of these roads are in that same scenario. The longer that they go, the more it's gonna cost, or the more maintenance that you're going to have to place on those roads in between now and the time that they are resurfaced.
Thank
And like I said, the only problem I have, it is definitely a priority, is just all of a sudden arbitrarily taking one road and putting it at the top of the list when, during our work session, many other people were represented and shared and expressed their concerns along with petitions in our priority list.
That's my concern.
Mr. Harper?
That's my concern.
Okay, any other comment?
I would hope we could table this until we really reviewed it and,
We got a motion before the commission, there's a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Commissioner Franklin, Commissioner Strickland, Commissioner Bridges, 4. All opposed, same sign.
Now, like I say, I'm not opposed, I'm just opposed to the process, you know, it wasn't discussed during the work session, and this is not something that we discussed and opened back up to the public and conducted a thorough review, taking our number 13 on the priority list and shifting it up probably into the top 3 or top 4. And when I'm looking, I don't see out of our top 4 roads, this particular road being in close proximity to any of them. But
and how, have we taken in consideration who are we bumping out?
that's,
You know,
Thank you, Mr. Harper.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Harper, Mr. Jakes opposed, motion passed.
Like I said, I want to clarify, I did vote no, I'm not in opposition, I just would feel like that due diligence would have been better served here.
I understand. Next item is ACCG legislative delegates. Being a first-year commissioner myself, I'm not sure where we've had a delegate to take part in the litigations of the things that the ACC backs and things that they oppose. But I was emailed from the ACCG president to send a delegate from Franklin County to represent, and the first meeting is coming up September the 30th at 3:30 in Athens. I personally will be there taking one of the 4 courses that's required for a commissioner. So I would be more than pleased to serve as a delegate from Franklin County. But I wanted to get make sure I got a consensus from do I have a motion that we send a delegate and I'll volunteer?
I so move, Mr. Chairman, and thank you.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
second.
Jakes.
Since you're gonna be there,
That's right. Thank you, Mr. Strickland. That's,
and I think
motion.
it's always good to make sure that we have representation within things
Absolutely.
within our region.
I think our boys from Franklin County should be heard, because actually when they go before the legislature, it's a state capital, and the ACCG is representing something. I hope it's our opinions, and we've had some input into that. All in favor of that, raise your right hand. 5-0 vote, and I will do my best to represent Franklin County on the issues that the legislation ACC brings up. And we will start that issue in May, coming up at 3:30, September the 30th in Athens. Like I said, I'll be present anyway, taking one of my core courses that's required to be a certified commissioner. Now, the last item, I want to ask Mr. Harper to give us a report on our training that we've been taking, and also some of our travel that the commission has been taking. Mr. Harper.
all right, thank you, Mr. Chair. For the July report, we have Commissioner Bridges, and for his travel, and it was $417.78. And Commissioner Strickland in the month of July for the travel report was $509.71. And year to date, we have $927.49, which is currently almost 31% of our budget in the first month. In our training report, we have Commissioner Bridges with $350 in July, and Commissioner Strickland $350 in July. So year to date, it's $700, and that is 23.33% of our budget. And in August, we had no travel or we had